Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pennsylvania Association for College Admission Counseling Keystone Virtual College Exploration. This program is a partnership between PACAC and StriveScan for all Pennsylvania students. My name is Liz Frasini. I'm a college counselor at Wyoming Seminary. I'm also the chair of the College Affairs Committee for PACAC. We're excited that you're here with us today to learn about the University of Miami. A few housekeeping tips before we get started. If you have questions for the presenters, please enter them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and they'll make sure to get to your questions throughout the presentation. This is a webinar format of Zoom, so your camera and microphone will be off throughout the duration of the session. You signed up for this session today at the PACAC website. We have lots of other sessions for you to choose from now through November 6th. You also can visit the website to view recordings of sessions you may have missed or to review this recording again. If you'd like to sign up for sessions or view recordings, you can do so at www.pacac.org/virtual. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Tamra from University of Miami.
Thank you so much, Liz, and hi, everyone. My name is Tamara Latman. I'm Associate Director of Admission at the University of Miami in Coral Gables, Florida. I am also the Pennsylvania Regional Admission Officer. So while I'm not coming to you with Florida sunshine this afternoon, I am joining you here from Central Pennsylvania, where I'm based, and I am excited to be able to share more information with you and to be a resource for you as you continue to learn about the University of Miami, and hopefully, for those of you who are seniors, go through the application process. So let me share my presentation here. As you heard, please feel free to submit any questions using the Q&A box. I'm going to keep half an eye on that while I speak, so I can hopefully integrate some of those answers as we go along, and we will also have time at the end for me to address those. So a little bit of the University of Miami by the numbers. We are a mid-sized private research university with just over 10,000 undergraduate students. And a few times this evening, you're going to hear me talk about having the big school opportunities and resources at with the attention of a much smaller school. So 10,000 or so students studying in 180 majors across our 9 schools and colleges. But as you see here, our average class size is between 16 and 27. And our student to faculty ratio is 12-1. So that means that it is really, really hard to get lost in the shuffle at but rather the teachers, the professors who are in the classroom with you are also going to be advisors and mentors. All of the different support services and resources at the university are incredibly accessible, and that is something that definitely attracts students to Some other things that attract students to certainly our Division I athletics. We are a place with a lot of school spirit, as well as lots and lots of other ways to get involved. And students they get involved right from the start. And as you'll see here, our first year to second year retention rate is 92%. So I think a real testament to how students transition well to the University of Miami and have an incredibly positive experience from day one. So who are these students who are our student body? You'll see that most of them don't come from the state of Florida. Our students represent 49 states and over 100 countries currently. And part of why this is so important, not just for the numbers' sake, of course, but as I said before, our classes are small, and so they're discussion oriented. You're not just going to be learning from your professors, but rather from the dialogue in the classroom and from your peers who might have very different perspectives and backgrounds and experiences. And so all of those voices are heard both in the classroom and beyond it. And so we think it's incredibly important that our community reflects the world around us. So you'll see a few other statistics here about the diversity of our student body. One of my favorite stats is that 55% of our students speak 2 or more languages. So admittedly, I think I really like that statistic because I myself was a language major in college, but I think it's also really nice that we're reflective of the area around us. Of course, located in the Miami metropolitan area, it's an incredibly diverse part of our country, and it is very common as you're walking through Brickell or Wynwood or Coral Gables to be hearing many languages spoken around you. And that is absolutely true on our campus as well. So it's really nice that you don't feel like you've gone from the diversity of the city and coming onto campus feel like you're entering any sort of bubble or echo chamber. We are constantly seeking to really be reflective of the world around us. So back to academics. That's really the reason why we're here, right? So like I said, our 180 majors and programs fall within 9 undergraduate schools and colleges, which you'll see listed here. That's particularly important because we're a direct entry university. And so that means that when you apply to on your common application, you're indicating to us which program you're interested in studying. And when we admit you directly into one of these schools or colleges. So you get to start taking those classes right away first semester. You have an advisor within that particular department or program. So you might be wondering, well, what if I'm undecided or I'm not really sure? There's a number of different things that I might want to pursue. That's totally okay. Even as a direct entry university, it is okay to be undecided. You can be undecided completely and come in through our School of Arts and Sciences. You can also be undecided within one of the schools and colleges. So maybe you know that you like business, but you're not exactly sure within the business school where you might want to concentrate, or perhaps within engineering. So it's absolutely fine to come in with that undecided background as well. Once you are enrolled at the University of Miami, you can change your mind. You're not stuck in one of those schools or colleges, and you will have careful advising to help you to navigate. And it is very possible to combine interests across the schools and colleges. So maybe you're a business major, but you're also interested in languages. Or perhaps you're studying in our School of Marine and Atmospheric Science, but you also want to do something within the School of Education and Human Development. There's a lot of flexibility that is possible, and that flexibility is thanks to our Cognate system. So if any of you have attended a session about Miami before, or maybe have perused our website, you might be familiar with this term. So cognates are our version of general education requirements, and a cognate is simply a cluster of 3 related courses. Every student is required to do a cognate in STEM, in arts and humanities, and in people and society. And so 3 classes in each of these 3 areas, of course, looking at 9 classes to complete overall across 4 years. So hopefully not something that sounds particularly cumbersome. You are in the driver's seat. You get to decide how you're going to fulfill these requirements, what classes you're going to take, and your major right off the bat is going to satisfy one of those. So in this example here, sorry, I know I'm kind of looking back and forth between my screens. In this example, you'll see our lovely mascot, Sebastian, who is an aerospace engineering major. Of course, that falls within the STEM cognate area. So he is certainly taking more than 3 classes within engineering. So he is satisfying that requirement with classes in his major. So then you'll see for his arts and humanities cognate, he's pursuing the introduction to philosophy. And 3 classes satisfies a cognate, but it's typically only 4 or 5 classes to complete a minor in a particular area. So for our example here, the lovely Sebastian actually goes above and beyond those 3 classes and forms a minor in philosophy. And then last but not least, we know Sebastian loves his sports, so he decides to do his people and society cognate in sports communication. He takes those 3 classes, he loves them, he never does anything else with them after that, and that is totally okay. So he has satisfied this requirement as he's gone through his 4 years with his major and his minor. There's a lot of flexibility. And if you're curious to know how our different majors and programs fall within the cognate structure, you'll see this URL on here, cognates.miami.edu. It's a pretty cool search engine on our website for you to imagine what your 4-year journey might look like and how these cognates would fit your interests. So I've mentioned our distinct majors across 9 schools and colleges. Now I want to talk about several umbrellas or resources that really extend across all of them. The first of which is study abroad. There are opportunities to study abroad at in every single major. And as you'll see here, we have over 80 programs in 35 countries. So they take a number of different forms. Some of these are partner programs where you might be enrolling at another university or in another program elsewhere in the world. And 8 of these are U programs, meaning that they are University of Miami courses taught by our professors somewhere else in the world. So it's sort of like you're taking your program from Coral Gables, uplifting it, and transplanting it somewhere else in the world, somewhere perhaps like the Galapagos Islands. So some really unique sort of non-traditional study abroad locations, in addition to many in some very popular destinations all around the world. Another umbrella across all of our schools and colleges is research. We are a research-based university, which means that there are plentiful opportunities for students to engage in research as early as their first year, certainly as undergraduates. And it's important to know that research doesn't just happen in the sciences. I know that these pictures here on the slide show our engineering lab and show our marine biology campus out on Virginia Key. But it is really possible to conduct research across the social sciences, the humanities, our business school. So there is no sort of preconceived notion as to what research looks like or what it is limited to. So getting involved in research can be as simple as talking to your professor, maybe in one of your first classes, maybe in office hours, being interested in what they're pursuing, and becoming engaged as a lab assistant, as a research assistant for them. We also have an Office of Undergraduate Research, and so that's a great place to go if you have some independent research pursuits that you're interested in launching, and you'll find a lot of support at the U to engage in that. Let's see, talk a little about campus life here before I get into one of those final umbrellas. Our students are incredibly engaged at the University of Miami. So if I had to describe a cane, one of our students, the first word that I would use to describe them is really driven. There's a lot of ambition, there's a lot of that forward thinking that really attracts students for the direct entry approach, the cognate flexibility, and all of the programs that we offer. So there's a lot of that drive, but there's also a lot of energy. The second way I describe our students is as incredibly engaged. So we have over 300 clubs and organizations on campus. I know it's a little cliche, but there's something for everyone. Tons and tons of ways to get involved and to really make the most of your 4 years at the University of Miami. Community service is certainly a very popular way that students engage with the world around them. Certainly a lot of opportunities to get involved in special interest groups on campus. Fun fact, our most popular, our largest club on campus is the Scuba Club. You might remember me saying that most of our students do not come from Florida. Most students have never been scuba diving before, but it's an opportunity to try something new, to do something that is pretty unique to being in South Florida, being right there on the coast, and a great way to meet new people. So lots and lots of ways that students are engaged on campus and with the community around them. So a little bit more about athletics. You might be familiar with our teams. We are a Division I institution with 18 varsity sports. So lots and lots of ways to compete at the University of Miami. But we do know that many students are athletes in high school, but perhaps aren't quite at the level or aren't interested in the commitment of Division I sports. And for that reason, you'll find tons of club and intramural opportunities at the University of Miami as well. Really amazing facilities, lots and lots of ways to stay active and to be competitive at whatever level you are interested in. Okay, forgot about which slide was next here. So before I get into our location and really talking about how Miami is so influential to our students, I want to talk about our Topple Career Center, which is that third umbrella across all of our schools and colleges. Of course, as I described our students as being really driven, they're thinking about what comes next. After they complete their 4 years at the University of Miami, are they going on to employment or graduate school? And there's so much support that's really accessible in planning for those next steps. So our Topple Career Center provides opportunities for advice about selecting a major, what kinds of careers might be outcomes for particular majors, connecting with job shadowing, perhaps connecting with our tens of thousands of alumni all over the world, and employer expos as well. So some of these things have taken a little bit of a different form this year, of course, given COVID-19, but our employer expos are still happening in virtual formats, and career advising actually happens now on a drop-in basis via Zoom every day of the week. So in some ways, it's actually more accessible than ever, and our students have definitely not lost that focus and that attention towards their future. One of the other cool resources, unique resources through the Topple Career Center is something we call Sebastian's Closet. So you might be getting support in preparing your resume, in maybe connecting with an employer, maybe getting that interview for your first internship. And maybe you're coming from Pennsylvania to the University of Miami and your professional clothing is back home in your parents' house. And so you're sitting there in your dorm room trying to figure out how to put your best foot forward. Sebastian's Closet is a wardrobing space within the Topple Career Center where you're able to borrow professional attire. And they're going to help you to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. They take care of all of the details. It is all dry cleaned. It is all prepared before and after each use. And it is a way for us to help you to really be putting your best foot forward and expressing yourself as you are looking beyond the University of Miami. So I'm going to pause here for just 1 second, mostly because I want to take a sip of water, but I want to remind you that the Q&A box is there if there are any questions. Of course, I do have my University of Miami cup. Lots of school spirit, even here up in Pennsylvania. So a little bit about our location. You heard me say at the beginning that we are located in Coral Gables. So technically Coral Gables is a city within the city of Miami. So we are not downtown, we are not an urban campus. Coral Gables is about 20 minutes from downtown Miami. It's an area that is very residential. It has a bit of a suburban feel to it. It's very safe, it's beautiful. In fact, its nickname is City Beautiful, and it is absolutely accurate. So there's a lot in our general area in that neighborhood. There's an area called the Miracle Mile, which is full of restaurants and shops and galleries and amazing places to walk around, of course, taking advantage of the beautiful South Florida weather. So that's right there in our backyard. But then everything that is within the greater Miami area is, again, right at our doorstep. So about 20 minutes will get you into downtown. We'll also get you up to our Miller School of Medicine, which is our second campus. And also a shuttle will take you to our third campus, which is on Virginia Key. And that is our Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science. So lots of ways that we are integrated into the city. Our students take advantage of this, of course, for professional opportunities as well as for fun. You'll see here some statistics about the university, or about the city, I'm sorry, how many startups there are. So lots of entrepreneurial spirit, lots and lots of cultural and ethnic diversity, great food, great coffee. So a little plug for one of my favorite parts of the city. There's a neighborhood called Little Havana, and there's an ice cream shop there called Azucar, and they have the best ice cream in my humble opinion. So if you have a chance to come to visit, or if you end up coming to the University of Miami, you'll definitely want, I'm sure you'll spend time on Calle Ocho exploring this cool part of the city. You'll definitely have to get some ice cream. Let's see, a little bit more about the location. We have a metro rail line that runs adjacent to campus. So there is public transit. It'll get you up to the Miami airport. So really easy to get back and forth to home or wherever you need to go. And that rail line will also help you to get around the metropolitan area. Before I move on to the admissions process, I want to talk a little bit about life on campus itself. So moving from the city onto campus, which, as I said before, is very diverse. It is very residential. So freshmen are required to live on campus, and after that, a large percentage of our students choose to remain on campus because of that energy, because of sort of that vibe on campus where there's just always something going on, and students never want to be far from that action. So housing on campus is really centered in our residential college system, which, again, going back to our size, breaks down a larger community into something that I think is a lot more personal, a lot more manageable. So when you come to UM, your first year, you're assigned to a residential college. So you're living amongst other first-year students. You have upperclassmen who are living amongst you, these first-year fellows, as we call them, who help you to navigate all of the resources and really get involved at UM. There are also faculty who live within the residential colleges with their families, so a nice integration of your academic life and your residential life. And there are dining halls in those residential colleges as well. So it definitely becomes a hub for you, again, becomes sort of that home away from home, that niche within the larger community. Beyond your first year, there are opportunities to stay on campus, of course. In residential colleges, we actually opened a brand new housing village called Lakeside Village this fall. If you have a chance to do our virtual tour on our website, I highly recommend it. Definitely check out Lakeside Village. In addition to having, of course, those interior spaces, student rooms and dining spaces, etc., there are so many outdoor spaces. And I think that that is one of the best things about our campus, are all of these ways that we harness the beauty around us, the great climate, and these opportunities for students to have classes outside, to meet with their clubs and organizations, and really just to enjoy that. So it is something that you'll constantly see around campus, our students and faculty and staff, everyone enjoying that nature. We're centered around Lake Osceola, so a beautiful lake right in the middle of campus, offers amazing scenery, and definitely, you know, it's hard to be too stressed out when you're surrounded by that sunshine and those palm trees. So that's just a little bit that I wanted to mention about campus life. So now I am going to transition into the admissions process. Again, if there are questions, please don't hesitate to send them my way. I'm going to make sure that I answer some of the most common questions as I go through the process, particularly noting some of the things that are new this year. Certainly some things have changed in light of COVID, and our process has adjusted in certain ways. So I'm going to cover those in just a few minutes. So here you'll see our most recent admitted student profile. So this past year, we received just over 40,000 applications. Yes, I said 40,000. It is a big number. But what I want you to take away from this is even with 40,000 applications, we review those in a very holistic, very human process. It is incredibly contextual. So in this way, our admissions process is far more similar to a small school. So again, getting back to that big school, small school contrast. So we'll give you some profile figures here because we know people like to see how the admitted students tend to fare on SATs and ACTs. So you'll see those testing profiles here. Again, this is just middle 50%. So last year we admitted a quarter of the class who fell above these scores and a quarter of the class below. What I want to focus on in particular here is GPA. So you'll see here that our average unweighted GPA on a 4.0 scale was a 3.7. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, my school doesn't use an unweighted scale, or we don't get graded on a 4.0 scale. How on earth do I translate that? And the short answer is you don't have to. We will recalculate the GPA of every single applicant to the University of Miami. We do that using just your core academic classes from each of your years up to the point that you're applying, so 9th, 10th, and 11th. We are then taking those courses, we are calculating that to an unweighted GPA. So over here, we're going to have this number on that 4.0 scale. By itself, that number doesn't tell us a whole lot. It is the context that is so important. So the context provided by your school, the profile that's going to accompany your transcript. So we understand the curriculum that's available to you. We understand how you've chosen to challenge yourself across 4 years of high school. There's also a lot of context that comes from your letters of recommendation. So we're interested not only in the grades that you earned, but how did you earn them? What are you like in the classroom? What are you like in your school community? Because we're of course thinking about what you would be like in our classrooms and in our campus community. So in this way, there's both the quantitative and the qualitative element. And so I hope you understand that there's really a balance between those. There's really a lot of context and of course that human touch to it. So I promise there's folks on this side of it who want to get to know you as a whole person and are striving to do that through both the quantitative and the qualitative elements. So a couple other figures here on this slide. Of course, you'll see our overall acceptance rate is about 33%. And you'll see that we have 4 application plans. I'm going to talk about those deadlines a little bit later, but you'll see that there's a pretty even distribution. We enroll some of our class through our early decision rounds, some through early action, some through regular decision, and then some through waitlist. So you might be wondering, in this holistic process, what all are we asking for? So here's our admission checklist. I'll tell you that we ask for each of these things very deliberately. We would not ask for something if we are not really going to put our time and energy into fully and thoroughly reviewing them, getting to know you better through those items. So first and foremost, the Common Application. We are a Common App exclusive school, so that is your way to apply to UM. Of course, there is the general Common Application essay that is required within that. And this year we have implemented a supplemental essay. I'm going to talk about that in more detail. Beyond that, of course, your high school transcript, really one of the most important things that we're looking at. Again, of course, to see your academic preparedness and how you performed throughout high school. Your school report, along with that profile, gives us some great context about your school and about that curriculum that you've been enrolled in. Letters of recommendation, of course, as I touched on, will give us more of the context into what you're like in the classroom and in your school. And then for this year, for our seniors, we are test optional. We have not made the announcement about our testing policy beyond fall 2021. So if you are an underclassman, maybe a junior or a sophomore tuning in, you'll need to hang tight. As soon as we make that announcement, we will certainly be sharing it on our website. So I'm going to get up to a little more detail about this again in a second. And then if we have any international students who are joining us for this session, know that it is a requirement to have a financial certification form as well, which ties into the process for receiving your student visa. So a little more detail, particularly about the things that have changed this year. We have added this supplemental essay. And you'll see here, you see Sebastian, we talked about him earlier. I've got him here with me as well. Sebastian, our mascot, is an ibis. And you'll see here that the ibis is really important to us, is a symbol of resilience, as it is the last species to leave an area when a storm like a hurricane is incoming, and the first to return once that threat has passed. So we think it's a really apt sort of entree into this supplemental essay where we're asking students to focus on their own journey of resilience, of courage. And so it is a 250-word essay, so you might even consider this more of a short answer, but it is certainly an opportunity for you to share your voice, share some of your experiences, and let us get to know you better. So a little bit more about this test optional policy, which is of course another big change for us this year. What test optional means for the University of Miami is that you will not be at an advantage nor a disadvantage based on whether or not you choose to submit SAT or ACT scores to us. So it means you're going to receive the exact same consideration for admission as well as merit scholarship, regardless of what you decide to do in terms of testing. And then our third big change this year, and this is one that I'm particularly excited about, it links admissions with financial aid, which of course we know is a very important topic. Many students and families thinking not only about the admissions process, but how to pay for college. So beginning with fall 2021, we are committed to meeting full demonstrated financial aid for every student we admit. This is regardless of which application plan you apply under, regardless of citizenship status, regardless of your major or program, for all it's. So we do require both the FAFSA and the CSS profile. That is how we determine what a family's need is, a student's need is. But then with this policy, we take the cost of attendance, we subtract that need, that is, the estimated family contribution as determined by the FAFSA and CSS profile. So we're left with this amount that is need, and we will fully meet that. So the idea of this is to make sure that when we're offering a student admission, that we're offering them the financial means to take us up on that offer and to become a cane. So there's far more information about that on our website. I want to touch briefly here on our financial aid checklist. Again, as we're into mid-October, I know particularly for seniors and their families, this is a very timely topic. So we do require both the FAFSA and the CSS profile. If you're not super familiar with these yet, the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. That is how we determine your eligibility for, of course, programs that are coming from the US government. So the FAFSA is only required for our US citizens and permanent residents. The CSS profile, on the other hand, is our application for institutional aid. And that is something that we require of all students regardless of citizenship. So it's with the combination of these two forms that we're able to really see if students and a family's full picture in terms of financial aid eligibility. There is supporting documentation that will be required alongside these applications. So that might be the signed tax returns and W-2s, might be non-custodial parent information if that applies to your family. Again, there might be some other supplemental information. So these checklists are really important, as are our deadlines. And so once you apply to the University of Miami using the Common Application, within a few days, you're going to receive login information for our applicant portal. You're then able to log on to the portal and see two checklists, your admissions checklist and your financial aid checklist. So they are going to reflect the information that I just showed you on here, and it's going to track all of the materials that you have submitted to us and those that we are still awaiting. And so it's really important for you to keep an eye on this, be keeping an eye on deadlines and making sure that we've received everything that we need by those deadlines. We do need both a complete admission application as well as a complete financial aid application if you tell us that you're applying for aid. So we're able to make that full decision for you and share all of the information at the time that we release decisions, which we also do through that applicant portal. So turning to our deadlines here, you will see that we have 4 different plans to apply to the University of Miami. We do have 2 rounds of binding early decision. Binding meaning that if you apply ED, you are telling us that we are your top choice. You can't imagine going anywhere else. You bleed orange and green. And if we admit you, you are absolutely going to enroll and you will withdraw applications to any other schools. If that's not the right choice for you, that's totally okay. We also have our non-binding early action and regular decision. We've boiled these down to 2 deadlines, so hopefully that keeps things pretty clear for you. You'll see November 1st is our deadline for ED1 and early action. January 1st is our deadline for ED2 and regular decision. If you're a senior and you're sitting at home right now trying to decide which plan is right for you, maybe you're thinking that you might be able to have everything together by November 1st, I'm going to encourage you, do whatever you need to do to get those things to us by that November 1st deadline. The reason is you have both a binding and a non-binding option, and that is also our eligibility deadline for Premier scholarships. So alongside need-based financial aid, we also automatically review all applicants for merit-based scholarships. These Premier scholarships are from full tuition all the way up to the full cost of attendance. So these are not insignificant awards by any means. And there's no separate application, but you do need to apply by November 1st for that consideration. So also on here, you'll see the notification timelines. I know I've been asked a lot about this lately. So for example, if you would decide to apply early decision 1, you can expect to hear back from us by late December. So before you would go out on your winter break. And then of course, you'll see those subsequent notification timelines on this chart. So the last thing that I'm going to mention here are some of our special program deadlines, and there's going to be far more information available on our website. So for example, if you are applying to our School of Architecture and you are deciding to apply test optional, we do require a portfolio. So you'll find more information through our portal on submitting that. For our Frost School of Music, probably not a surprise that we require auditions. So there is information available on that timeline. If you're interested in our Theater Arts Bachelor of Fine Arts program or our Health Professions Mentoring program. So these are some additional opportunities that do require supplemental steps. And so again, this is a really good reason to go onto our website, to apply promptly, to be checking those checklists, and to be making sure you're applying by those deadlines to get full consideration for those programs that are of interest to you. So that wraps up the presentation I wanted to share with you. Please know my email address is on here, tlatman@miami.edu. I am happy to take your questions now. I'm also happy to be a resource down the line for you. So if you think of other questions, or if you and your family want to chat via Zoom or via phone, I'm happy to do that. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. So the chat box or the question and answer box here has been pretty quiet. I'm going to give you a minute here in case anyone has questions to throw in there. All right, so if not, I'm going to throw it back over to Liz. And I want to thank everyone for joining me this evening. I wish you all the best in your college search. I hope you and your loved ones stay safe and healthy. And I want you to remember that it's all about the you.
Thank you so much, Tamara, for this great presentation by the University of Miami. We thank you all for joining us live today as well. After the session, there will be a brief 4-question survey, and we appreciate your feedback. If you'd like to sign up for additional sessions, you could do so on the PACAC website. You can also view the recording of this session and other sessions at www.pacac.org/virtual. Have a great day, everyone.